Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Let's talk the Razorbacks because, I keep saying it's late June. Most rosters are set. We've started our college hoops offseason grades. If you've missed any of them, Louisville, UConn, Florida, Kentucky, North Carolina are coming up. BYU's coming up. But I've been hesitant to do anything on Arkansas because it feels like they were going to add one more player at some point, okay? It's been an interesting conversation in Arkansas circles. They basically have, in my opinion, prior to Thursday, I think about 10 dudes that you can go to war with. Now, you don't want all of them playing 38 minutes a game, but they got 10 guys that you can count on. But it felt like almost universally that every Arkansas fan was kind of sitting there saying, we need at least one more piece. And it's felt like that Arkansas fans felt like they needed a body in the front court. Remember last year, they basically had Big Z, Jonas Aidoo, Jonas Aidoo, and Trevin Brazil. Now, Adu Thero was kind of a 3-4, whatever, but when the team dealt with injuries, all of a sudden you're rail thin in the front court. Jonas Aidoo's hurt early. You don't have enough bodies. Trevin Brazil gets hurt early. You don't have enough bodies. Then those guys come back. Adu Thero gets hurt. And then obviously in SEC tournament play, Big Z gets hurt. And all of a sudden you're just down to basically no bodies. So I bring it up because it felt like Arkansas was going to add a body. It felt like it was going to come from the European ranks. And it's interesting because if you follow this on a day in, day out basis, it felt like the name that everybody was monitoring was a Russian big man named Igor Ryzov, okay? Well, Igor Ryzov may still come. Maybe by the time that you listen to this, he will be committed. But on Thursday, Arkansas did get a European big man, but it wasn't the big man that we thought. That is because 7-foot center from Bosnia, Elmir Dvafic. Look at producer Matt. I didn't even know there was a picture of him on the internet. I didn't know anything about him until 24 hours ago. But Elmir Dvafic commits to Arkansas, 7-foot center from Bosnia. Maybe the final piece. I'm excited. I liked Arkansas's roster without him. I liked him. I like it even more now. And what the heck? It's mid-June. Why wouldn't we do it? Arkansas is playing in Omaha this week, so I just got one question for you. Can anything stop the Big Pig invasion? Elmir Dvafic, can anything stop the Bosnian Big Pig invasion? That's right. Get your t-shirt, AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. We're having a little fun. It's June. I drank too much coffee. I also, by the way, unrelated to anything, burned myself with the iron today. So this is like my MJ flu game right now. I'm all over the place. But when you're talking Bosnian big men in June, we're just flying by the seat of our pants right now. Okay, Elmir. Let's talk about Elmir, okay? First of all, let me say this because I got into a little brouhaha on social media. So Elmir Dvafic is coming over from Bosnia. He plays in the Adriatic League. And so I put out a pretty harmless tweet when he committed. I said, I think he's a nice addition, front court depth, blah, 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 this and that. And you know what happened from there? Immediately, a certain fan base that wasn't Arkansas's got in the mentions and said, Torres, he averaged 2 points per game. Stop kissing John Calipari's you know what. Well, listen, couple things here. And I said it, and I made some people mad when I said it. But first of all, context matters here, okay? 18-year-old big man playing in a professional league, the Adriatic League, overseas, okay? It has professionals from America. By the way, a lot of these really good European players that are coming overseas to the U.S., older, 21, 22, 23. Luka Bogovic, who's coming over to play for UNC, 22 years old. The kid going to Illinois, Mihailo Petrovic maybe, 21, 22 years old. So this kid is younger, and he only averaged 2 points a game. I get it, but he's playing in a league with grown men, okay? By the way, and I said this on social media, and everybody gets mad at me. I like Brandon Garrison from Kentucky, but he averaged 5 points per game. Doesn't mean he can't make a leap next year. Kentucky fans are telling me he might be the best big man in the SEC, and I'm not even arguing with them. I like Brandon Garrison, but the point I'm trying to make is guys get better year over year. Context matters, and he was playing in one of the toughest leagues in Europe last seaon. Oh, by the way, when he played for his national team in the U18 championships a few summers ago, 14 points, 10 rebounds per game. Okay. But I think more than it. So when he plays against his contemporaries, when he plays against his peers, he's very good. But the important part is this. Nobody is saying that he was the piece that you needed to go from not even making the tournament to top 10 team. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the one thing Arkansas really needed, I believe more than anything else, was a backup 4-5 man, some bulk, a body that they can use. And this is maybe possibly the final piece. And it's not about you had to go get the best player in the world. You had to go get another big man for practices, for depth. It's worth noting he has multiple years of eligibility, we suspect. So this is a guy that could be on the roster for 2, 3, 4 years. So no, one thing I will not do, I'm not going to oversell it and say that he's the most important commitment that has ever happened in the history of college basketball. But what I am saying is he is an important commitment for this particular Arkansas team. Because I'll be real, I like this Arkansas team, and I ain't afraid to admit it, okay? I know that every time I say something, whatever. Arkansas made the Sweet 16 last year, but beyond that, I really like the pieces on this team, and I've said that since Carter Knox announced his return right at the NBA draft deadline. First of all, you got 4 guys that are coming back. You can't go solely off last year's stats again. But at the end of the year, the 4 players coming back were 4 of the most important players at Arkansas, and they were all playing at a really high level. We've gone over this. DJ Wagner, he was one of the best guards in the SEC over the last month of the season. That's not my opinion. That is a statistical fact. This was a guy that had 24 points against Mississippi State in a game that basically clinched their NCAA tournament berth in the final day of the regular season. He was great in the opener against Kansas in the NCAA. I mean, he was very good down the stretch for that team. 3rd-year junior in the SEC. Yeah, I'm going to bet on that guy. Beyond DJ Wagner, Carter Knox. Again, if you just look at the totality of the stats over the course of the season, he doesn't look like a guy that's, primed to be an all SEC first team guy, which I think is what he's going to be. But he had 20 against St. John's in that, or 20 against Texas Tech in the Sweet 16, 15 against St. John's. If you can do that against those teams, you are due for a breakout this coming year. Billy Richmond was the leading scorer for Arkansas against St. John's in the round of 32. Trevin Brazil, double-double in the opening round of the NCAA tournament against Kansas. So 4 key players coming back. By the way, it's kind of interesting. I believe Arkansas statistically has the most returning production of anybody in the SEC returning this year, which is crazy. I call John Calipari Mr. Retention because that's never something you could say about him before, but it is something you could say about him now. So I like those 4 pieces. I like the 4 other freshman-ish first-year college basketball players coming in outside of Elmir Dvafic because Darius Acuff is a dog. Okay, Darius Acuff, I believe, probably the front runner for SEC player, for SEC freshman. Let me correct that. SEC freshman of the year. Nate Ament's going to be in the mix. Maybe a Jasper Johnson, maybe a Malachi Moreno. I'm trying to think of who the other guys are. Darius Acuff's a beast. Okay. He is a dog, and I think he's going to be really good. I think there's some guys, maybe aren't built to dominate in college basketball right away. I think he's going to be great. I think Malik Thomas is going to be great. By the way, if you've seen any of the stuff Arkansas social media team has put out, Malik Thomas looks like he's grown a little bit since, kind of the start of his senior year of high school. You add Isaiah Seeley, who I think is going to be pretty good. Kareem Rattal as well, another overseas player. Now you add Dvafic. Should mention, by the way, make sure you're following our Torres on the Hogs account, Torres on the Hogs, for all your late-breaking Arkansas news. And then on top of the 4 returnees, the now 5 newcomers, you also have 2 transfers, Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle, both big guys. And I thought it was interesting. I don't know if we talked about this, but Calipari talked about this at one point during kind of those media availabilities that he had kind of during that spring tour in May. He basically said point blank, he was like, it feels like his recruiting philosophy is now we're going to go with the high upside players, NBA prospects on the wings and the guard spots. And then down low, we're getting grown men. We're getting grown men who can throw people around. It was Jonas Adu last year. This year, it's Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle. And you look at this team, I think there's a lot of reason for excitement. Now, listen, it's not to say that the team is perfect. I would say three-point shooting will not be a strength, okay? I don't think, by the way, it's going to be as big of a weakness as people think. End of the year, Trevin Brazile was shooting it well. Carter Knox was shooting it well. DJ Wagner was actually shooting it better than people realize. I think Acuff can be a pretty good three-point shooter. But also, there's a couple variables. One, you don't have to be a great three-point shooting team if you're a great offensive rebounding team. And that was, if you remember, because I remember talking about this, everybody last year when Arkansas struggled out of the gate, everyone was so caught up on their shooting. Oh, they don't have enough shooting. I said, part of the problem with having bad shooting, you also can't be a bad rebounding team. You know, there are teams like, look at Buzz Williams at Texas A&M. Now, I hate the way he plays. I think it's football on hardwood, and it's awful. I don't think Arkansas or Calipari's teams have ever been that unwatchable. But you don't have to be a great three-point shooting team if you're a great rebounding team, and Arkansas just wasn't last year. I think they will be this year. And then beyond that, again, you have 4 or 5 guys that can get to the rim, make plays anytime they want, and Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas and DJ Wagner and Carter Knox and Billy Richmond, etc. So to me, again, we're not going to oversell Elmir Dvafic as the biggest commitment in the history of basketball. But you look at this team now, and yes, you'd like a little bit more three-point shooting, but you now have 11 dudes you can go to war with. You have, again, I think 3 guards that are really, really, really good. You have 2 wings that I believe will play in the NBA, certainly Carter Knox, maybe Billy Richmond. And then down low, you know, how did Arkansas' season end? They couldn't get an offensive rebound against Texas Tech. That ain't going to happen with Malik Ewan. That ain't going to happen with Nick Pringle. And now you just have another body. And so when I said I think it's maybe the final piece, now we'll see. We'll talk about that in half a second. But when I said this is the final big piece, it's just another body. You need depth. You need physicality in this league. Listen, I hate to say it. This isn't football, but injuries are going to happen, okay? And so because of it, you need bodies. And this kid provides a body, depth. By the way, great for practicing. I remember we had Will Wade on during, the season with McNeese, and he was talking about, no, everyone's afraid to recruit 12, 13 guys now because of this, guys are going to transfer, whatever. But he's like, you need those bodies for practice, to have competitive practices. Well, say what you want about our boy Elmir Dvafic, the Bosnian Big Pig invasion, but that is a guy that is going to, at minimum, going to contribute at practice and be a guy that makes Malik Ewan better, makes Nick Pringle better. I remember, I'll give you an example. When Reed Potter, the 7'1" kid committed to Kentucky, comes from Miami of Ohio. Again, 10th, 11th, 12th man, but he's going to make Jaden Quaintance better. He's going to make Brandon Garrison better. And it's the same with Elmir Dvafic. So I like it. What I'll be most interested to see, is he the final piece? I've heard mixed things about whether they're still going after Igor Ryzov. That is something that we should find out in the coming days. Igor Ryzov plays in Russia. His season is officially done. So to me, the big question becomes, is this the final piece? I would tend to think, I don't know if you need another big guy. Again, Calipari was very vocal about last year not wanting to over-recruit, bury guys on the bench and have them transfer. I think he wants to have a roster where he has his guys, he has the backups, he can run practices, but he's nimble enough where he's not so backloaded where he's going to have 4 or 5 guys transfer out. But again, Elmir Dvafic commits to Arkansas. I think it's a solid pickup. And I'll say this, I've said it consistently. I believe Arkansas is right in the mix in the SEC title race. Kentucky, Arkansas, Florida, to me, are the clear top 3. I think Auburn is going to be there by the end. I think Tennessee's always good under Rick Barnes. But you look at this Arkansas team, I mean, they're not a great three-point shooting team, but everybody's got weaknesses. Kentucky's not a great three-point shooting team. Auburn's got an entirely new roster. Florida, again, Boogie Fland, he's got to prove it. So the point I'm trying to make is I think Arkansas is a contender. I think they're a contender for an SEC title. By the way, don't tell me, Cal's teams never compete for the. He finished second 2 years ago in his last year at Kentucky. Elmir Dvafic, that's your Elmir Dvafic take. I'm excited. The Bosnian Big Pig invasion is coming to Fayetteville.